friends. It's Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, and we're so glad you joined us today. This is going to be a quick hour, a fun hour today. I just know it. Jerry and I've been thinking about it all night. Why don't you tell our listeners exactly what we're going to be talking about today? Because I keep laughing when I think about the story that I'm going to share about my mother. I hope she's not listening today.
Well, it's good to have you all with us. Yeah, today we're talking about, have you ever committed an inadvertent or accidental blunder? You did something, you said something, you were very sincere, you were just replying to somebody, or you were just trying to be helpful, and you got this strange look or this reaction, or maybe 15, 20 minutes later you thought back on the whole thing, played it back through your mind, and you went, wow, I shouldn't have said it that way, or I wonder if they took it this way or that way, or this is kind of what we're talking about today. Both Debbie and I have I think, well, mine's going to be kind of a humorous example. And that's what we want to talk about today. But the tie-in, I think, to our faith, Debbie, comes when we do these things and we recognize them. How do we respond? How do we react? Because it can be kind of humiliating, because we wonder, what did people think of me during that situation? Did they think that I was being, rude or impolite, or just doing something that I shouldn't have been doing? And do I go back and try to explain it to them, or do I just kind of accept the sort of this little mini humiliation and grow in holiness? So these are some of the things we want to hear from people about today.
Jerry, I know we're going to be sharing some humorous stories, and that's wonderful. I have to, as you were talking, when you talked about different blunders, I make blunders every single day, I have to be honest with you. But I remember one time years ago, I had a disagreement with one of my core members that was on the team for religious education, and we got into a little bit of a text disagreement. And I don't know how it happened, Jerry. I really don't know how it happened, but I got a new phone, and somehow this old text from a year prior surfaced and was resent to this core member. And I'm not joking about it. It was frightening when I saw it. And he called me and he said, I thought we had settled this from a year ago. And I said, we did. And he goes, well, then how come you're resending me texts? And I really wasn't. And you talk about trying to explain things. We must have talked about it, him and I, and then we ended up laughing about it, because here was this disagreement we had, and it was resurrected a year later. And like you said, what are you going to do? Finally, we just laughed about it. We said, okay, it's all done. It was just a glitch. And see, technology can really come back to bite you. It's an interesting thing. But blunders, it's a way of life with me. And dear listeners, if it is with you as well, call in and share your experience. Maybe it's a fun one. Maybe it was a real serious one that caused a breakup of a relationship or something of that nature. We want to hear from you, though. We're a family. We learn together, and we learn because of you at 1-800-585-9396.
All right. Again, that number, 800-585-9396. You can reach me and Debbie at text as well. Text the letters EWTN to 55000. Wait for a short little response indicator, and then just give us your name and your take on this topic today. Remember that data rates may apply. 800-585-9396. Have you ever committed an inadvertent blunder, and how did you feel about it? How did you respond, or did you try and do anything to maybe rectify the situation? So, do you want me to share mine?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I'm giggling because I was wondering who's going to go first. Go ahead.
No, did you want to go first?
No, I have to turn down my mic because I'll be laughing too hard. So go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead. You go first.
Here's what we're talking about, folks. Okay. So we went to the World Meeting of Families last September when Pope Francis was coming to the United States. And the whole, my company, Third Millennium Media, and my ministry, Vocation Boom, we had representatives and a booth and everything. And we all got there a couple days before the World Meeting of Families started. And I had spent a year at St. Charles Borromeo Seminary in Philadelphia studying a part of my 6 years of formation in the priesthood. And I thought, gee, it'd be great to just go back over there and see the grounds. And Nick Scott, our radio producer, was with me, and he had never been there. And I thought he would just love to see it. Plus, a couple weeks before that, we had the rector of the seminary, Bishop Timothy Sr. He's an auxiliary bishop in Philadelphia. He had been our guest on the radio show. So he knew us, we knew him, and I thought, well, this is just kind of cool. Let's just go drop in and see if he's there. And so since we had so many of us at the World Meeting of Families and so much cargo, we rented this big white 15-passenger van. So Nick, Scott, and I hop in the van. It's a bright, sunny day, so we put our sunglasses on, and we pull up to the security booth at St. Charles Seminary. And these guys come hustling to the van, of course. And we said, hi, we're with Vocation Boom. Is Bishop Sr. here? No. Well, do you know when he's going to be back? No. Well, do you think we could wait around and just say hi to him? No. And we're going, man, what's wrong? These guys are really rude, Well, Debbie, so we hightailed it out of there. We kind of got the message, after
get off our property.
we weren't welcome there at the time. So I did the little U-turn there. I'm driving down the driveway out of the seminary, and as I got back on the streets, headed back to where we were staying, it dawned on me. Pope Francis was going to be staying at the seminary while he was in Philadelphia. He wasn't there yet, but that's where he was going to be staying. And I thought, man, these guys probably thought, who are these two idiots driving up in this big white van, sunglasses on? This is nothing but trouble coming our way.
Unmarked white van.
Unmarked. There were no markings. And so it dawned on me. I went, oh, yeah, Pope Francis is going to be staying there. And I thought, man, we look like a couple of buffoons. So, folks, that is kind of the inadvertent sort of blunder or mistake or silly thing that we're talking about here today. Maybe you've had your own situation like that. If you have, call 1-800-585-9396. And let's talk about how that really resonated in your heart. Did you, I mean, there was nothing, we weren't going to go back, Debbie, and try and explain. Well, no, really, let us explain.
You would have been hauled away in handcuffs.
That would have been almost a certain visit by the police, yes.
Oh, my goodness. That is hilarious. See, that's why I had to turn down my mic. It's hard you start thinking about this and painting that visual picture, and it really does become quite hysterical. So, dear listeners, you probably have great stories like this. I mean, we all make blunders. We're not perfect. We all do that. And who wants to be perfect anyway? I mean, that's too hard. So call in and share your experience. Maybe you have something to impart to us of wisdom, of what maybe not to do so we don't end up in an awkward situation. But we want to hear from you. 1-800-585-9396. Love it. I love this show.
Okay. So you were going to share something.
Do you want me to share? Okay, yeah. So you got to paint this picture. It's hilarious. You got to understand this. I'll go really quick. My mom is in her 80s. She went to Catholic school. She had a brother, a priest, a sister who is Dominican sister, still living alive and well in Caldwell, New Jersey. My mother always wanted to become a nun, but instead got married and had 6 kids. So she was shopping in the neighborhood grocery store with my dad at the time when my dad was still alive. And you got to understand, my dad's from Jersey, and he was very blunt in how he spoke about things, kind of rough and gruff. And that's what we all loved about my dad. And my mom is more just proper and everything like that. So they're in the local grocery store, which the people that work the grocery store knew them. They knew them by name. Hi, Connie. Hi, Bill. And they would come in and they'd shop in the grocery store. Well, my mother was so awestruck, like Hollywood struck, because she saw a group of sisters, religious sisters, in their full habits, and they were shopping. There were several of them, and they were shopping in the grocery store. So my mother, not even thinking, ran up to them like she wanted their autograph. She ran up and she was like, "Hi, sisters. How are you doing? It's so good to see you. Oh, my goodness. I always wanted to be a nun." And she goes on and on. She tells her about her sister, the Dominican sister, and her brother, the priest. And then my mother begins to frantically start filling their shopping cart with food. She goes, "Here, you need this for the convent, and you need this, and you need this, and you need this." And she starts filling the shopping cart, and it's overflowing. And then my mother turns with my dad, and she was all excited that she met the nuns, and she walked out of the grocery store. And they're walking to the parking lot. My dad, in his very curt way, turns to her and says, "Connie, you forgot to pay for everything." Because my mother wanted to pay for it. So when she went back into the grocery store, the sisters are looking at my mother like she was a little off, a little crazy, because they're stuck with this basket.
Like, how are we going to pay for this?
How are we going to pay for it? So of course my mother goes, "Sisters, I'm really not. I was just excited to see you and your habits, and I'm so sorry." And my mother started dishing out the money to pay for it. So that was we laugh about it all the time, because I said, "Mom, do you realize what you did? Not only did you put yourself in jeopardy of getting picked up by the police for shoplifting, but you put the sisters in jeopardy as well." So it was pretty funny. And that's a true story.
Wow. Well, folks,
Yeah.
What is your true story? Again, we're just talking about these little inadvertent things that to come along in everyday life, and you're just innocently you're acting in a certain way or saying something, and you mean something one way, and after further reflection, you kind of scratch your head and say, well, gee, I wonder if it kind of came out a different way, or maybe people look at you funny or react in a certain way, and then you have to kind of figure out, well, what did I do wrong? So, and then how did you learn from that? 1-800-585-9396. 1-800-585-9396. We got David and Pam already screened. Other calls are in the works right now. But I see we got an open phone line, so we'd love to have you join us again at 1-800-585-9396, or text the letters EWTN to 55000 and give us your take that way. It's Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio.
The wisdom of Mother Angelica.
Look at the little flower. I am not the little flower, I'm Italian. She was French. She was meek. I'm hot-tempered. She was very lovey-dovey. To me, let's get on with this show. You got something to do it. I look at the Lord sometimes in the second when I say, Lord, I wish I could think of all the things the saints thought of. Always tell you gushy. St. Gertrude and St. McChild. Is there a place up there, Lord, for just ordinary people? People that get up in the morning kind of grouchy and go to bed the same way, there has to be a lot of those kind of people up there,
For more information on Mother Angelica, visit Religious Catalog at EWTNRC.com.
Post your intentions on the prayer wall on Jerry and Debbie's website. To get there, just click on the bright yellow J&D logo at take2show.com. Jerry and Debbie personally reply to every prayer intention that's posted. Others will also offer you their prayer support. When there's something important you want prayers for, post it on the prayer wall on Jerry and Debbie's site. Visit take2show.com, click on the J&D logo today.
CNA is the only fast, reliable, and free Catholic news source that brings blogs, stories, opinions, and more to your fingertips. For the latest Catholic news, visit CatholicNewsAgency.com, an online service from EWTN News.
Augustine Institute Radio Theater presents Brother Francis, the Barefoot Saint of Assisi.
The beggar from Assisi is staying with you?
Yes, Holy Father. Bishop Guido recommended him, and I wanted to know him better.
And what are his views?
He's no heretic.
That's reassuring. What else?
He is worthy of your attention.
Francis of Assisi, I approve your order.
Brother Francis, the Barefoot Saint of Assisi, this Sunday night, 9 Eastern on EWTN Radio.
This is Bishop William Medley of the Diocese of Owensboro.
This is Al Cresta, host of Cresta in the Afternoon.
Hi, I'm Archbishop William Laurie, the Archbishop of Baltimore, and you're listening to EWTN Radio.
Okay, we titled today's show, Oops, Did You Ever Make One of Those Inadvertent Blunders like Jerry shared and I shared, and I'm sure you can share as well. So you just have to call in. We won't embarrass you. We're just going to laugh with you, not at you, with you. So it'll be fun. This will be an interesting show, and we can learn something, and maybe what not to do in the next time we're in an awkward situation. So when an open phone line comes available, please dial in at 1-800-585-9396. Okay, David was first up. listening to EWTN Radio in Dallas, Texas on EWTN.com. Hi, David. Tell us your blunder.
Hi, guys. How you doing today?
Doing
Good, David.
well.
How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Okay, this was something I'm always going to remember. It happened over 30 years ago. I was a young pup out of college in an executive development program in a company, and my boss's boss used to bring me and several of my colleagues at the same level into his office on a periodic basis to train us on certain aspects of the business. And during and there's about 5 or 6 of myself, my colleagues. And at the end of one of these meetings, everyone leaves except my friend is sort of sitting in the doorway, but I stayed in the office. And I went to this gentleman. I said, "Well, sir, who's that picture of? Is that a picture of your brother?" He goes, "What?" I said, "Well, is that a picture of your brother? I mean, it looks like you. It's a brother or a cousin." And he goes, "You're kidding me, right?" And my friend is like jumping up and down, trying to get my attention in the background, and I just ignoring her. And I said, "No, really, it really looks like you. I'm just wondering who that might be." And he says, "Well, that's my wife."
Oh, no.
And, of course, I wasn't exactly sure what to do or say, so I didn't. And when I got back to my office, I realized I could have said, "What a very handsome woman."
Or you could have said, it's true. The longer people are married, the more they start to look like each other.
Exactly. Well, exactly.
Oh, my
Good point. That would have been a good one, too.
David, I would have been packing up and saying, "Okay, see you all later."
Yeah, I know. Needless to say, I continued to be hired by that company, which is interesting. So I guess I was worthy for other reasons.
Did you ever meet the wife?
I'm trying to remember. No, but obviously, every time that I ran into a gentleman, it's hard not to think of that back at that time. So,
Well, David, don't feel bad. My oldest son was so, if I can say it, so pretty. People used to think he was a girl all the time.
Right, there you go.
Yeah, it
well,
happened.
They're really young, though. I mean, okay, I thank you for trying to help me, but obviously this is sticking with me. It's over 30 years, and I'm still thinking about it.
Right. That's pretty funny. Well, I'm glad you shared it. I hope it was a little bit therapeutic in a way.
I'm trying to release it.
Well, David, let me just ask you this real quick, because we mentioned at the start of the show how we respond and react to these kinds of things can be important for us spiritually, and this was obviously a humiliation for you, and just curious to know, if it was that something that you really kind of took that way and you said, gee, I want to learn from this and really allow just God's grace to reside in this situation that there's really nothing you can do to fix.
That's a very good question. I guess how I would respond on that specifically, I didn't look at it in regards to my spirituality, but I am sure it affected the way I looked at things going forward because, anytime you go through a tough situation like that and you muddle through and you figure out a way to keep on trucking, that's other situations in life come up that you have to have the same attitude for. So it's helpful that way.
Right. Well, David, you made me think of this as you called in. You made me think of it happens to so many of us, and a lot of women who have had children. You can relate to this. After you have a baby, a lot of times your body just doesn't go back very quickly, and it's quite often that you'll be shopping and somebody will say, "So when is the baby due?" And you just had the baby.
Yes, I tried to avoid that one.
That's always one that can kind of can set you back a little bit and really have you wake up and say, maybe I shouldn't say anything.
Yes, I've learned that my mouth sometimes is not my best friend.
Oh, me too. I'm right with you. I'm in the same group. But it's fun. If we can laugh at it, I think that's the best thing is to keep a sense of humor. It sounds like that gentleman that remarked about his wife, it sounds like he had a sense of humor about it. Did he?
Laugh, but maybe.
Yeah.
Very good.
Oh, God bless you, David.
Thanks, David, for being a part of the program today. We appreciate it very, very much. In Dallas, it's Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, and we're talking about your inadvertent statement or action, or we're calling them blunders, just kind of in a little playful way. But we all have things in life. Man, life is full of these things, Debbie, where we just, like David said, he just wished he had bit his tongue, and I've had many situations like that. But this is what helps to shape our lives and make us who we are. Especially, David said this has been with him for all these years. So
30 years.
1-800-585-9396. Pam is up next in Pensacola, Florida, listening to EWTN Radio on Guadalupe Radio. Hi, Pam. How are you this morning? Or this afternoon for you, I guess. Good.
I'm good, thanks.
All right. So what's your take on this?
Well, my blunder was numerous years ago. I was asked at my brother's wedding to do a reading, and at the time I had a toddler, and my husband couldn't make the wedding, so he was sitting with relatives, and I was just a little worried about that. So I practiced with the reading, and it was marked with the sticky tab, and it said, love is patient, love is kind, the one you always do at a wedding. Well, when I moved it to read it, I put the sticky tab somewhere else, not remembering to replace the sticky tab to where I should be reading. So when I went up there to read for his wedding, the reading I read was, "Woe to you fornicators."
Oh,
and
no.
it just went on and on from there. And I was just like, oh, man, this is bad, but I got to finish this reading. So,
Oh, boy, there's not a rock handy when you need it.
The word of the Lord.
You want to crawl under a rock at a moment like that.
Right. Well, Pam, what's so sad about your story is they probably videotaped the wedding, so you have that forever.
Well, the marriage didn't last. So,
I'm sorry.
Maybe
but
it was meant to be. I don't know.
Oh, Pam,
uneasy guest.
I don't know how you got through it. I don't know how I probably would have broke down laughing. I really would have right on the altar. That would have been horrible.
It was just one of those things. It's like, wave and smile and keep going.
Wow.
Move along.
Wow.
So, anyways, it's still a joke in the family, that's for sure.
Oh yeah. That I've heard that's happened quite. I used to be a liturgy coordinator, and it used to happen all the time where readings they would have the wrong readings, and I can remember deacons would be up there reading. This is during mass and stuff, and they would start laughing. They'd start laughing and say, "Oh, wrong one," or "We rewind. We did that last." So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
It does happen.
It's a different one than that one.
Yeah.
Oh, well, what do? You just
That's
keep
right.
going.
Well, join the club, Pam. You joined the club of me and Jerry and David, who just called, and now you're in the club as well. So it's a good club to belong to.
Thanks, Pam.
Okay, well, thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Have a blessed day. 1-800-585-9396. I remember something similar when I was in college at Franciscan University, Debbie, and we had this feisty little priest, Father Gus. Anyone listening who went to Franciscan will remember Father Gus. He was about 5'4", maybe. And when I was there, this was in the early 90s. He was already well into his 70s, but he would just tackle students and wrestle with them on the grass and stuff, and they all wanted to kind of pick a fight with him in a friendly way. He was tough.
Yeah.
He was strong. Anyway, and his homilies were just absolutely amazing, and he didn't pull any punches. And I remember the readers got up there, and they read the readings from the wrong Sunday Mass. I think it must have been from the wrong week. And so Father Gus was preaching the homily that day, so he gets up there and he says, before I give the homily, now I'm going to read the correct readings for today. And everybody was just squirming in their seats, and everyone's kind of out of the corner of your eye. You're looking over at these two readers going, oh, my goodness, you poor people. But, yeah, these things,
hilarious.
they happen.
They happen. Yeah, you got to laugh at it. Okay, we just had an Annunciation Radio caller just drop, so call back if you can. We want to hear from you and hear your blunder. You got to join the club. We're getting ready to have that one hard break, Jerry, that we can't move. I wish we could move that. That would be my Christmas gift. Could you give that to me as a Christmas gift? We can't move it, huh?
I cannot, no.
Can anybody at EWTN
I'm not
move
sure
it?
that God can move that hard break.
Oh, my goodness. Well, we have to take that break. But, dear listeners, we're talking about inadvertent blunders. Oops, we're calling it. That means that if you made that mistake and you could laugh at yourself or just kind of brush it off, we want to hear from you because it does help us grow. Actually, in our own spirituality, when you think about it, we really need to be resilient. We need to keep moving forward. We can't get sidetracked even by silly things that we do where we're not even conscious of. So if you want to weigh in on it and join the club, dial in at 1-800-585-9396. And that's the break that we cannot move here on earth. I believe God can move it, but here on earth, we can't. We'll be right back.
Welcome to EWTN's Catholic Almanac.
It's November 17th, the memorial of St. Elizabeth of Hungary. St. Elizabeth worked with the poor and the sick, which angered her husband. Food for the poor, hidden in her coat, miraculously turned to roses when he searched her. Against the advice of her family, she built a hospital near her home where she tended the sick. She said she could only follow the teaching of Christ, not the opinion of her family. St. Elizabeth died in 1231.
60 on 10 with Monsignor Charles Pope.
The third commandment, remember to keep holy the Sabbath day. You know, of all the commandments, it might seem that we would get this one right. After all, it commands us to rest one day. But so often we're off to our own pursuits. God asks us to take one day to stop, reflect, rejoice, spend time with Him and with our family. But so often we're running everywhere else. It's also a day for worship. The book of Leviticus says, 6 days work shall be done, but on the seventh day is a Sabbath of solemn rest and a holy convocation. You shall do no work. It is the Sabbath of the Lord. And the book of Hebrews says that we should not neglect to meet together, as is a habit of some. And so again, we're asked by God to spend time reflecting and worshiping, and likewise spend time with our family. The third commandment, remember to keep holy the Sabbath day.
EWTN. Live truth. Live Catholic.
I'm in a good place in my life.
And I'm energized by new adventures.
I've got friends to laugh with.
And a good relationship.
But even though I'm kind of comfortable,
I sometimes wonder, is there something more?
Could God in church be what you're looking for? Come and see at CatholicsComeHome.com.
Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio. And as you may have heard, if you tune in the afternoons, I have been filling in as host of Catholic Answers Live, and I'll be there again this afternoon, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time on many, if not most, of these affiliates. And it's a 2-hour Q&A open forum today with Jimmy Aiken, Senior Apologist at Catholic Answers. So hope you can join us for that, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio. We're talking, though, on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie about those pesky little moments in our lives where we say or do something that we kind of wish we hadn't. Hopefully that you haven't gone through anything that was too, costly for you in your life, but just maybe a little bit humorous, perhaps. But how did you feel after that? Did you try and clean up the mess, or did you just say, well, I better just, like David said earlier, this is one I better just kind of let this one go? So we want to hear from you at 1-800-585-9396.
These are all really funny ones. I'm looking for one that's kind of, almost like a little murder mystery.
You know how we don't get one of those.
Well, not literally a murder mystery. You know what I mean? Kind of suspenseful. Okay, so who's up next? Let's see. I think this is all going to be fun. Anne, you have been waiting so patiently in Harbor Creek, Pennsylvania, listening to EWTN Radio on the Station of the Cross. Hi, Anne. Welcome to Take Two.
Hi. Thanks for taking my call. I wanted to share with. I have a large family, and one of my daughters was the oldest one, and she was passing from cancer. And being the oldest one, they said we were a lot alike, and we used to butt heads all the time. And it was very hard as she was passing. I was trying to reach out every 6 ways from Sunday to her. So, being into a little bit of technology, I sent a text to her and just said what a wonderful daughter she was and how good she was and just how much I loved her and just everything that I could think of wonderful about this beautiful person to say. And I kind of did myself in because I ended it with LOL, which I thought meant lots of love. And it means laugh out loud.
Right.
And we never did talk about that text. I'm just hoping that now that she's in heaven, hopefully, and I'm sure she is, that she understands that it was a real big blooper on my part.
Well, wait a minute. Yeah, wait a minute, Ann. I just have to ask him. I put LOL all the time for lots of love. So you're telling me that LOL, I know it also can mean laughing out loud, but don't you have to put one as capital letters and one as small? Is that?
I actually have no idea. But my other kids pointed out that LOL meant laugh out loud.
Uh-oh, Jerry, you tell us, because I do it all the time.
No, I think LOL is typically understood to be laughing out loud, but I think it's actually, Anne, you know what, I think it's beautiful that you did it with the intention that you did. Mm-hmm. And I think God can provide, and you did it with that intention. And I would just hope and say a little prayer, Lord, I hope that at that moment she understood how I intended that to be received. And now that she's gone on to be with the Lord, she not only knows that at that moment you were sending her lots of love, but even to this very minute you are embracing her with love in your heart. So I think it's a precious, precious story, and you know, I think God can certainly provide the grace for your daughter to understand it in the right way at that time.
Well, yeah, and we certainly know your daughter's laughing right now. I mean,
sure she is.
Exactly. So it all comes around. Would you mind sharing your daughter's first name so we could add her to our prayer book?
Mary Frances.
Mary Frances, how beautiful is that? Well, yeah, I don't know why I'm chuckling. I think Mary's smiling at this. I really do. I just feel it. So for what it's worth, Anne, you're a great mom, and how awesome is that? You helped me today though spiritually, because I always put LOL thinking it's lots of love. I'm not. Okay, you corrected me. Thank you. I needed that.
So now when Debbie's traveling, she won't text her husband Marty anymore and say, I miss you so much. I can't wait to be home. LOL.
Exactly. Oh my goodness.
Thanks, Anne.
Thank
for
you,
sharing
Anne.
that beautiful
God bless
account.
you. Yes. And Mary Frances is in our book, and we pray fervently. So please feel those prayers, and we pray for the entire family too. And speaking about the prayer wall, you heard it on the spot earlier. We have a very active, vibrant prayer wall on Jerry and Debbie. So please go to take2show.com, hit that bright yellow button, and leave your prayer intentions, because we believe in the power of prayer. Okay, Nancy, listening in Minnesota on EWTN Radio, on Real Presence Radio. Hi, Nancy. Welcome to Take Two.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, so my funny story involves our former pastor. He and I have been friends for a very long time, and he was unused to our sound system, and he put the earpiece in for his wireless mic and didn't realize it was on, and he's joking and whatever in the sacristy before Mass. And everybody could hear him, so I went over to the door, and there was probably 4 or 5 people in there, and I tapped my ear. I said, Father, you're hot.
Oh, no.
And they instantly started to giggle, and I'm like, what? And then it hit me, and I turned about 4 shades of red and just about died right there. I mean,
right.
And it was right before Mass, so,
Oh, my goodness. How did Father react knowing that he had a hot mic?
He laughed. He turned it off, and he's like, thanks for telling me, but...
Yeah, right. Well, that's funny. I here a couple months ago, twice in 1 week, I dashed to the sacristy to tell a priest, these were different priests, that their mics were on. Mm-hmm. I just absolutely, you certainly don't expect that anything improper is going to come out of their mouths, but hey, we're all human. And so I just dread those moments, and I just feel, oh, Father, please, until I get there, just don't say anything.
Right, please,
exactly.
No more. Well, as I was sharing, and Nancy, as you heard earlier, being a liturgy coordinator, I used to see it all, and I can't tell you how many times I used to dress up, to coordinate the different masses. But I wish I sometimes had sneakers on, how fast I had to run to wherever the priest was and pull the microphone down or click it off, because that happened quite frequently, unfortunately. And normally it was fun. Everybody laughed about it, but you don't ever want anybody to be in an awkward situation. So, Nancy, I say you're going to get brownie points in heaven for racing back there and telling Father he had a hot mic.
That's right.
Yes, if only I had used the word mic.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Well, fortunately, he figured it out. Nancy, thank God you had the wherewithal to, because sometimes I've seen people in the congregation as we're getting ready for Mass, and people will just they'll look around and they'll know what's going on, but nobody gets up to say anything. And I thought, why isn't anybody going to Father's aid here? So, Nancy, you did, and as Debbie said, you get brownie points for that. Thanks, Nancy, for the call.
You're welcome. Thank you.
In fact, Debbie, you may have heard this. There's a phrase in the radio industry, probably TV as well. When you're in the control room, the on-air studio, there's a saying. They say, if you don't want it on the air, don't say it in this room. If you don't want it on the air, don't say it in this room. And because that simply means, typically those who are running things, they know what they're doing. They got all the controls down when they're supposed to be down and the mic's off and so forth. But I've been at this for 36 years, and believe me, I have had moments myself, and I've heard other moments from other people on the radio where they were in the on-air studio, and somehow that mic got left open. And
and that was the end of their career, huh?
Well,
could have been.
It could have been, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, I'll remember that. Thanks for that tip, Jerry. Okay, Kathy in Upton, Massachusetts, listening to EWTN radio, podcasting it. That's awesome, Kathy. Welcome to Take Two.
Hi,
Kathy.
Thank you.
Hi.
I want to share a funny story. Well, when I was 17 years old, back in the 80s, I worked in a nursing home, and I worked with the Carmelite nuns. And I loved working with the elderly, and I loved making them laugh. I think laughter is the best medicine. And I was in the room with one of our elderly nuns who is 96 years old. She had dementia. Her name was Sister Elizabeth. And we always liked to get her laughing. And so as we were getting her ready for a night, I noticed over on the chair the top part of her habit. And I went over and I put it on my head. And a couple elderly people went by, and I went out in the hall and I bowed down and I said, hello, my children. And they go, hello, sister. And then I looked down the hall, and a Carmelite nun is staring right at me. And I went, uh-oh, this is probably not a good idea to have this on. And I scooted back into the room, and the sister finally met up with me, and she goes, Kathy, were you wearing Sister Elizabeth's habit? And Sister Elizabeth was sitting next to her in her wheelchair. And I said, yes, sister, I did. And she goes, that's sort of a form of blasphemy. And I go, I did not know. I am so sorry. And Sister Elizabeth tugs on the sister's, her habit. And she's like, what's going on? What's going on? She goes, well, with your permission, she wore your habit last night. And Sister Elizabeth goes, oh, anytime, honey, anytime. You can wear that anytime you like. And so anyway, it was like a memory that I'll always remember, but it's also something I'll never forget.
Very cool.
Well, and that's it's beautiful, Sister Elizabeth's response to that.
Yeah, I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, go ahead, Deb.
No, you.
No, after you.
Well, I'll tell you, it was a learning experience, that's for sure. It's you don't think about, a 17-year-old teenager, trying to be laughing and working in a home with the sisters, and then you find out you put a habit on that, it's a form of kind of blasphemy, I guess. And but the sisters were wonderful to me. They did such a nice job with all the patients and stuff there, right. And it's a fun memory to look back on. And Sister Elizabeth being 96 years old, I know that she's praying for me in heaven, and I always look back with fond memories.
That is beautiful. Well, no, I was saying it's cool, Kathy, because I guess I have to join you, because I used to put on my aunt's. In fact, she used to dress us up in her habit. My aunt, the Dominican sister, I never knew it was blasphemous. I didn't know that. Never have gone to confession for it. And I don't think I don't know if it really is. I think if it's done in the right intention.
Blasphemy is more directed toward God. Yeah, there's
right. Huh?
Blasphemy is more directed at God, like cursing God and things like that. And I certainly hope, Kathy, that you haven't carried any, guilt
or
feelings or anything about this, because I I'm not aware of any prohibition of somebody putting on a religious habit who may not be a vowed religious. Because, in fact, they do. Postulants and novices, so sometimes men and women who have not made their vows. And I remember when I was in the seminary, we wore priestly clerics, and we were not ordained. But that was just on the seminary grounds, and some seminaries allow their young men to wear them off the grounds. But it's just a matter of getting into the habit, no pun intended. So anyway, Kathy, no need for you to feel bad about that. I think it was kind of a cute, precious moment.
I do too, Kathy. I think it's awesome. I think it's the intent too, because you weren't parading around pretending you were a nun. You were doing it to really just bring some joy, and that's I think I view it as that. That's pretty awesome. So, what did it feel like to have the habit on? Okay, you said
actually, Sister Elizabeth, when she looked at me, she had a picture on the wall of Saint Teresa, the little flower, and she looked at me and she goes, "You look like her."
Oh,
and so that was like a beautiful thing there,
See,
because at that time when I was a teenager, I was thinking of being a nun myself. Okay, so that was like in my mind, So, but I'm a mother with 2 beautiful children, so I know I was called to where I am today, but.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, I love working with the elderly, and it was fun to give them joy and laughter, and I had a good time. 5 years of working in the nursing home was a lot of fun. So.
Beautiful. Well, just so you know, our pastor years ago allowed the whole entire staff for Halloween week to dress up as nuns. The staff dressed up as nuns. We all did, and it was hilarious. We had people coming in. They actually thought we were nuns because we call each other sister, and it brought such joy to the staff. It built the morale. It changed the whole feeling of Halloween. It made it more saintly, if you will, and it was a great experience. But we asked our pastor, we said, "Is it okay?" He goes, "Absolutely," because of the intention that you're trying to bring to the community. So there you go. And he's a great pastor. He's my spiritual mentor. All right, Kathy, thank you so much. Have a beautiful and blessed day. Okay, I just want to share with all our listeners that EWTN provides so many great opportunities for us to grow in our faith. And one of them is the EWTN Radio Classics. And they're on 24/7. They're teaching and devotionals. And they're straight from the EWTN archives. Then, of course, they feature Mother Angelica, Patrick Madrid, Father Benedict Rochelle, one of my favorites. And you can find them on EWTNradio.net and on EWTN app. So don't forget, these are all great ways for EWTN to continue your spiritual formation. So take advantage of them. We do. That's how we learn. So just a nice little plug there for you to continue on with your journey. Okay, Frank, here you called back. Frank, I'm so proud of you. I think it was you who called in first from Toledo, Ohio on Annunciation Radio. Hi, Frank. Thanks for calling back. Welcome to Take Two.
All right, Debbie. I think you know me.
Okay.
I made a rosary for you.
Hi, Frank. Yes, I carry the black knotted rosary. Frank, I've gotten so many compliments on it. Thank you so very much. Yes, I do know you, and thank you. Welcome to Take Two. Jerry, this is Frank. He makes great rosaries.
Hi, Frank.
Yeah, I was gonna. When I was in high school, I worked at a grocery store, and I was working as a cashier. And somebody wanted to talk to the manager. So I'm hitting this button, and the buzzard wasn't going. So the manager come up after a while and goes, "What's going on?" I says, "I've been trying to call you. I've been hitting this button." He goes, "Well, don't touch it." Then 5 cop cars come over there. And he goes, "Frank?" I go, "I didn't know." He says, "Well, we forgot to tell you." So when the cops came in, I go, "Hi, guys." It was a false alarm.
Oh my
so
goodness.
how did they feel about that, Frank?
They started laughing.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's good.
At least it wasn't 911, right? Because that could have.
Right.
Doesn't that cost you money if you?
Then.
Yeah.
Did you get to keep your
time ago?
Did you get to keep your job, Frank? Or next week did they say don't bother showing up for work?
I know they let me do it, but they wouldn't put me back on the cashier part.
They had you back stocking shelves, right, Frank?
Well, I was bagging groceries, and they go, "We're not putting you back on the cashier because when you want something, you just press the wrong button." I said, "Well, if you guys told us about it, it wouldn't have happened.
A little trigger happy. Okay.
Yeah, so
Frank.
I guess when you needed an extra checker, you pushed the wrong button instead of going on the store microphone to call for a checker. You got a bunch of police show up.
Well, you know how it is when you want something done right away. That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
That's right.
Oh, Frank, bless your heart. You are amazing. You're such a wonderful spirit. It was such a delight to be with you guys in Toledo, Ohio. You have a great group there running your station, and it was just a blessing, Frank. And thanks for blessing our day and calling back and sharing your delightful story.
All right, thank you guys. And
thank you, Frank.
God bless both of them.
Thank you. Have a blessed day.
Hey,
1-800-585. What's that?
Both of you, do me one favor. I don't want you eating any turkey on Thanksgiving.
Oh,
okay.
Why is that?
Don't eat turkey on Thanksgiving because I don't want you eating.
You don't want us eating what?
My cousins.
Oh, Frank, you're no turkey. I'll guarantee you that. But we're very, very delighted that you called the show today. Thanks for gracing the airwaves of EWTN Radio. All right, Jim in Pensacola, Florida, we've got him on EWTN Radio on Guadalupe Radio. Hi, Jim. What's your blunder here on Take Two, or somebody else's?
This is Jim in Pensacola?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's one of those situations I try to remind myself that two Irish Americans hit each other over the head while everybody else has a good laugh, and they have to forgive one another. And hopefully God is laughing too. But my dad's funeral, I was at my dad's funeral, and the church was packed. And there was 3 priests saying Mass, and they gave their little sermon about my dad. And 2 of them gave a wonderful sermon, kind of gushing, and how nice he was and great. And I think maybe both of them, or maybe one of them was in the Alcoholics Anonymous group that he was in. And the third priest, Peter Cunningham, he knew my mom, and he said, "Oh, he wasn't that great." I interrupted him right away for some reason, and I said, "Father, yesterday at the funeral at the cemetery, you were saying all these great things about my dad, and then that jet flew over at the naval. It was at a naval base. I said that jet flew over and stopped you, and you didn't start up again. Now I know why the jet flew over." And he was angry at first and all upset, but the whole church erupted and laughing. And then I said, "Father, we still love you." And he just started gushing and everything. So it was kind of funny but embarrassing at the same time.
That's what blunders do. They are fun. They can be funny, but very embarrassing at the same time. Well said. Oh, wow, Jim.
Yeah, I felt so bad because I felt like I interrupted the priest during his sermon, and he was angry at first, But thankfully, it was funny enough that the whole church erupted, and the other 2 priests were laughing. But Father, he got so serious at first, but then he said something like how difficult it was to be between him and my mom. Not between him and my mom, but my dad and my mom. That he had to kind of like try and repair the marriage or keep it together, or like he'd had us over at his house, the whole family. We had a family of 6 children, and my mom and us we go over there and spend time with him and stuff like that and have a great time. But anyway, he was kind of upset because he had to try to repair the marriage.
Oh boy!
And here he was being embarrassed. He was being embarrassed by me because he was trying. I guess he was trying to stand up for my mom, by saying something bad.
Oh boy! Well,
but it was so funny though. The more it's one of those situations where you sit back and you look at the whole thing and you say, "Well, it was kind of funny."
Right. Yeah, quite a sequence of events there, Jim, and we appreciate you joining us here and sharing that and helping to brighten up our day here on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Keep listening there on Guadalupe Radio, and feel free to call us anytime we've got a topic that speaks to your heart and you'd like to share something on, Jim. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Going to try to get to a couple more of you here, time permitting. Gail, thank you for calling and listening to EWTN Radio on Sirius XM 130 in LaPorte, Texas. Hi, Gail.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Better now that you called.
Well, thank you. Want to tell you about, this has happened quite a few years ago. I'm a retired teacher, and when I was younger, like around 30, The school that I taught at I taught special ed, and had a special ed home ec department. It was a high school. And they did a Thanksgiving dinner annually for all the dignitaries in the school district. Well, earlier that year, they started this health awareness thing that we could go to different schools and do exercising. And I made friends with one of the guys there, walking and talking and exercising. And he happened to be a school district person on the school board. And so I was nervous because I'd not gone to one of these functions before. And so I saw him. And he was all dressed up in a suit, and he looked very nice. And I said, "Oh, Rudy, you look so different with your clothes on." I meant his good clothes on. I meant dress, but be 30 and be stupid, okay? So I'm like, "Oh, my God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." He busted out laughing. He was a real estate agent. He just thought that was hilarious. And here he is introducing me around to the other dignitaries of the school board. And I have to repeat the story for him because he thought it was wonderful. And I was just so embarrassed. So finally, by the time that hour or so was up, that I had to schmooze with them, and they were like, "Why were you laughing? And how do you know all the school board people?" I was like, "I don't. I'm just stupid."
Just met them inadvertently, right?
Yeah, one word can make a difference, Gail.
Yeah, because he was like a skinny guy, but boy, all dressed up, he looked pretty good. And I was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry."
This is why I tell everybody you got to over-communicate. Use as many words as possible.
You're right. And that's been, oh my goodness, I'm 64, so that's 30-something years ago.
And you will always remember it. Oh, that is
Gail,
great.
bless your heart. Thank you for calling. We got just about a minute left. I want to get to Annie listening to EWTN Radio on Sirius XM in Los Angeles. Annie, welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. You get to close it out. Got about 30 seconds, Annie, if you can squeeze that down to a limited amount of time here. Hello, Annie.
This is Arnie. Are you talking to me?
Oh, Arnie, I'm sorry. Yeah, my eyesight,
no
this
problem.
print is so
No
small,
problem.
my eyesight is bad.
So I grew
I'm
up
sorry.
I'm making it quick. I grew up in Vermont. I was an altar boy in Montpelier my whole childhood, and I was walking in Mass to serve on a Saturday evening, and all of a sudden a police car pulled up behind me, told me to put my hands up over my head, and they turned the PA system on. I turned around, and they said there was a local candy store that had been robbed, and I fit the description. So they said, "What do you do?" And I said, "I'm actually going to serve Mass, officer." And they looked at each other and started laughing. They go, "Well, that's about as good as alibi as it gets. Go ahead on your way." And then when I got home, I told my mom about it, and God bless her. She said, "Arnie, God will always provide, even sometimes a good alibi, as long as it's the truth."
Amen. Arnie, thanks. That reminds me of a time when I was hosting Catholic Answers Live. We had a kids Q&A, and a little child named Alex called in, and I always like to encourage vocation. So at the end of the call, I said, "Alex, you ever thought about being a priest?" Alex said, "I'm a girl."
Oh, dear listeners, you made this show today. We have smiles on our faces, and we hope you do as well. So stay tuned in all day long, and tomorrow we have another show planned for you. But until then, Jerry and I want to wish you a beautiful and blessed day. See you real soon.